Canada is quiet, polite, and low-key, or so they say. But beneath that calm surface lies one of the most powerful, diverse, and geographically extreme nations on Earth. From its million lakes and multicultural cities to Arctic sovereignty and maple syrup heists, Canada is absolutely mind-blowing. No hype, no fiction, only raw facts, deep research, and real stories. This is Andy Explores the World, and we're about to explore Canada like never before. This video was created with limited access to original footage from Canada, so some visuals may be replaced with relevant illustrative material. I've done my best to ensure the content remains informative, engaging, and accurate. I kindly ask for your understanding and hope you enjoy the video nonetheless. Fact 1. A colossal country of land and ice. Canada is truly a geographical giant. It is the second largest country in the world, covering nearly 3.9 million square miles of land. Only Russia is larger. This immense space spans 6 time zones, stretching from the Atlantic Ocean in the east to the Pacific Ocean in the west, and all the way up to the Arctic Ocean in the north. That's more territory than the entire continent of Europe. Yet, despite its enormous size, most of Canada's population lives within 100 miles of the US border. The vast majority of northern Canada remains wild, remote, and sparsely inhabited. In many places, you can travel hundreds of miles without encountering a single town. Its massive wilderness areas are home to towering mountains, endless forests, and millions of lakes. Canada's size also contributes to its wildly varying climates, from temperate rainforests in British Columbia to icy tundras in Nunavut. Managing infrastructure across such distances is a constant challenge. Still, this immense landmass forms the backbone of Canada's identity, shaping both its economy and national psyche. Fact 2. The world's longest friendly border. Canada and the United States share more than just cultural similarities. They also share the longest international land border on Earth. This peaceful boundary stretches for approximately 5,525 miles, spanning both land and water. Remarkably, it is entirely undefended by military forces, a symbol of one of the world's most stable bilateral relationships. In 2022, Canada added a second land border, albeit a tiny one, by officially splitting Hans Island with Denmark, resolving a decades-long Arctic dispute. The island, located between Greenland and Canada's Ellesmere Island, is now co-governed by both nations. It was a humorous border standoff that involved planting flags and leaving bottles of whiskey or schnapps. Beyond symbolism, the US-Canada border has real impact. Over $400 billion in goods cross it annually. Its maintenance includes nearly 100 border crossings and multiple binational bridges. Yet, in many rural stretches, the only sign you've entered Canada is a wooden post in the forest. This border, often called the world's friendliest, reflects the deep trust between the two countries, despite their different political paths. Fact 3. A country surrounded by 3 oceans. Canada is one of the few countries in the world bordered by 3 different oceans: the Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic. This triple ocean identity gives Canada the longest coastline of any country, measuring roughly 151,000 miles in total. That's more than the coastlines of Australia, the United States, and Russia combined. The Pacific coast in British Columbia is marked by fjords, rainforest, and bustling port cities like Vancouver. The Atlantic side is rugged and rocky, famous for dramatic cliffs and historic fishing villages. Meanwhile, the Arctic coastline is icy and remote, with polar bears roaming and Inuit communities surviving in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. These waters are not just beautiful, they're strategic. Canada's access to 3 oceans gives it an enormous exclusive economic zone, rich in fish, oil, and potential shipping routes. As Arctic ice continues to melt, Canada's northern maritime position is becoming more geopolitically important. Yet, this oceanic vastness also brings challenges: coastal erosion, rising sea levels, and sovereignty issues in the north. Still, Canada's maritime character is a defining part of its geography and global influence. Fact 4. Land of a million lakes, and then some. Canada isn't just the country of forests and mountains, it's the global kingdom of lakes. In fact, over 60% of all the world's lakes are located within Canadian territory. That's more than 2 million lakes scattered across the landscape, with many of them nestled in untouched wilderness. Two of the largest freshwater lakes in the world, Lake Superior and Lake Huron, sit partially within Canada's borders. Lake Superior alone spans over 31,000 square miles. Some lakes in the north are so remote that they've never been officially named or mapped. Collectively, Canada's lakes hold nearly 20% of all the world's surface fresh water. This gives the country an immense natural resource, vital for drinking water, hydroelectric power, and ecosystems. It also explains why Canada has some of the cleanest and most abundant water supplies on Earth. The lake-studded provinces of Ontario and Manitoba are especially rich in freshwater landscapes. Many Canadian towns and cities are built beside lakes, blending nature with urban life. Whether frozen in winter or shimmering in summer, these lakes are part of the national identity and a source of both pride and preservation. Fact 5. The world's most extreme tides. The Bay of Fundy, located between the provinces of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, experiences the highest tidal range on the planet. Twice a day, the ocean rises and falls by up to 53 feet. That's roughly the height of a 5-story building. Nowhere else on Earth does the ocean breathe in and out with such dramatic force. This natural phenomenon is caused by the unique funnel shape of the bay, which amplifies the tidal motion as water is pushed into a narrowing space. During high tide, entire beaches disappear beneath swirling waves. At low tide, vast mudflats stretch for miles, revealing fossils, sea life, and even shipwrecks. The bay is also home to the Hopewell Rocks, iconic flower-pot-shaped stone pillars carved by centuries of erosion. This place isn't just a tourist magnet. It's a scientific marvel. The power of the tides here is so immense that Canada has explored tidal energy projects to harness it. The tidal movement in the Bay of Fundy equals more than 100 billion tons of seawater shifting every 12 hours. That's raw, untamed Atlantic power only in Canada. Fact 6. Humanity's last northern outpost. Tucked deep in the Canadian Arctic lies a place so remote and cold it almost feels like another planet. Welcome to Alert, Nunavut, the northernmost permanently inhabited settlement on Earth. Located just 507 miles from the North Pole, Alert is closer to Moscow than it is to Ottawa. It has no trees, no shops, and no permanent civilian population. Instead, it hosts a small rotating crew of military personnel, scientists, and weather specialists who monitor Arctic conditions year-round. Temperatures in winter can plunge below minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. During certain months, the sun never rises or never sets. It's a land of extremes, silence, and icy winds. Alert's strategic value is enormous. It serves as an early warning post, a climate research hub, and a listening station. Its military role dates back to the Cold War, when its radar systems kept watch on Soviet activity over the Arctic. Today, it still plays a key role in Arctic sovereignty and atmospheric science. Life in Alert is harsh, but its existence proves how far Canada's presence stretches, to the literal edge of civilization. Fact 7. A monarchy that runs like a democracy. Canada's political system is often misunderstood. While it is a modern democracy, it is also a constitutional monarchy. That means the ceremonial head of state is King Charles III, who holds the title of King of Canada. But don't expect him to rule anything. His role is symbolic and strictly non-political. The actual governing is done by an elected parliament and a prime minister, currently the real power figure. Canada's system blends the British Westminster model with a distinctly Canadian twist. The monarch's representative in Canada is the Governor-General, who performs duties like signing legislation and opening parliament, but always under government advice. This arrangement gives Canada a stable and time-tested structure. It's one of the few countries where monarchy and democracy not only coexist, but complement each other. Laws must pass both the House of Commons and the Senate, and then receive royal assent. It's a mix of tradition and modern accountability. Despite debates over whether to drop the monarchy, polls often show Canadians are generally indifferent or quietly supportive. The crown remains a soft but steady symbol in a nation that prefers balance to drama. Fact 8. A country that thinks in 2 languages. Canada is officially bilingual at the federal level, recognizing both English and French as equal national languages. This isn't just symbolic. It's built into the government, education, courts, and public services. All federal institutions, from parliament to post offices, must operate in both languages. Labels on products, road signs and airports, government websites, they're all dual language by law. The roots of this bilingual identity stretch back to the colonial rivalry between Britain and France. After the British took control in the 18th century, French Canadians remained a cultural and linguistic minority, especially in Quebec, where French never disappeared. In 1969, the Official Languages Act cemented the right to access services in either language. Today, around 22% of Canadians speak French as their mother tongue, while about 75% speak English. Bilingualism has become part of the Canadian brand, symbolizing compromise, diversity, and inclusion. It's not without tension, but it works. Many jobs in government require fluency in both tongues, and in a world where identity often divides, Canada's dual language structure is a rare example of peaceful coexistence through policy and respect. Fact 9. Quebec, a nation within a nation. Quebec is Canada's most distinct province, not just in language but in law, culture, and politics. It is the only province where French is the sole official language. Nearly 95% of Quebecers speak it, and most government services, education, and media operate exclusively in French. But the uniqueness doesn't stop there. While the rest of Canada follows common law, Quebec uses civil law for private matters, inherited from its French colonial past. That means its legal system looks more like France's than Ontario's. Quebec has also flirted with independence, not once but twice. Referendums in 1980 and 1995 asked citizens if they wanted to break away from Canada. Both times the answer was no, but the second time the result was razor thin. The province has its own immigration agreements, cultural institutions, and even laws protecting the French language, like Bill 101, which limits the use of English in schools and signs. Quebec sees itself as a distinct society within the Canadian Federation. It's fiercely proud, sometimes stubborn, and absolutely essential to understanding Canada's complex identity. Fact 10. Nunavut, Canada's Inuit homeland. Created in 1999, Nunavut is Canada's newest and most unique territory. It was carved out of the vast northern region of the Northwest Territories to give political autonomy to the Inuit people. Nunavut covers over 800,000 square miles, about 1/5 of Canada's entire landmass, yet fewer than 40,000 people live there. That's roughly 1 person per 20 square miles. Most communities are accessible only by air or seasonal sea routes. There are no highways connecting its towns. The capital, Iqaluit, sits on Baffin Island and has fewer than 10,000 residents. In Nunavut, traditional lifestyles still thrive. Many Inuit people continue to hunt, fish, and speak Inuktitut, one of the territory's official languages. The government operates in a consensus-based system where political parties do not exist and leaders are chosen by peers. The cost of living is extremely high, with basic goods flown in and a gallon of milk sometimes costing over $10. Still, Nunavut stands as a symbol of cultural survival, self-governance, and reconciliation, an Arctic homeland governed by the people who have lived there for thousands of years. Fact 11. The world's most welcoming mosaic. Canada doesn't just accept immigrants, it builds its identity around them. As of today, nearly 23% of Canadians were born outside the country. That's one of the highest proportions of foreign-born residents in the world. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, immigrants make up more than half the population. And this isn't a recent shift, it's a long-standing national policy. In 1971, Canada became the first country to adopt multiculturalism as official government policy. This means it doesn't expect newcomers to blend in or abandon their roots. Instead, it encourages cultural retention while promoting civic participation. As a result, Canada is home to thriving communities from every continent. Walk through Montreal and hear Arabic, Creole, or Punjabi on the street. Grab dim sum in Richmond or samosas in Brampton. This diversity isn't just social, it's political. Parliament includes members of dozens of ethnic backgrounds. Canada's immigration system is merit-based and points-driven, but also includes humanitarian streams for refugees. This openness brings challenges, of course: housing, integration, cultural friction. But overall, Canada remains one of the world's most immigrant-friendly societies by design. Fact 12. a peacekeeper with global reach. Canada is often seen as the quiet diplomat of the West, and that's by design. It plays the role of a middle power on the world stage. Canada is a founding member of the United Nations, NATO, the G7, and the Commonwealth of Nations. While it doesn't flex military muscle like the United States or Russia, its influence lies in diplomacy, peacekeeping, and soft power. From the Suez Crisis in the 1950s to missions in Rwanda and Haiti, Canadian peacekeepers have served in nearly every major global conflict zone. In fact, the iconic blue helmets of the UN became part of Canada's international image. Canada also punches above its weight in foreign aid, education exchanges, and environmental advocacy. It was a driving force in the Ottawa Treaty, which banned anti-personnel landmines worldwide. And while it rarely makes headlines, Canada is known for brokering deals behind the scenes, offering neutral ground in tense global negotiations. This steady, values-based foreign policy helps Canada maintain strong diplomatic relationships even in polarized times. In an increasingly loud world, Canada's quiet strength still matters. Fact 13. The first G7 nation to go green, legally. In 2018, Canada made international headlines by becoming the first G7 country to fully legalize recreational cannabis nationwide. Only Uruguay had done it before. This wasn't a loose policy. It was a tightly regulated framework with strict rules around production, sale, age limits, and advertising. Each province manages its own retail system, with some using government-run stores and others allowing private businesses. Canadians over the age of 19, or 18 in some provinces, can legally purchase cannabis from licensed shops or online. Home cultivation is allowed too, up to 4 plants per household. The move wasn't just about personal freedom. It was designed to eliminate black markets, reduce youth access, and redirect profits from gangs to tax revenues. In its first year alone, legal cannabis generated over $1.5 billion in sales. It also created thousands of jobs and opened a new frontier for medical research and agriculture. Of course, legalization brought challenges, impaired driving concerns, regulatory hiccups, and public health debates. But overall, Canada's bold policy became a model for others, balancing liberty with control. It was a major cultural shift, done the Canadian way, carefully and quietly. Fact 14, the maple syrup empire. When people think of Canada, they often picture maple leaves and maple syrup. But few realize just how dominant Canada is in this sweet business. The country produces about 70% of the entire world's maple syrup supply. The vast majority, nearly 90%, comes from the province of Quebec, where the climate and forests are ideal for tapping sugar maple trees each spring. The process is age-old, but still very much alive. Sap is collected from the trees, then boiled down into syrup, with roughly 40 gallons of sap needed to make 1 gallon of syrup. That's a lot of trees, time, and tradition. Canada even has a strategic maple syrup reserve, a literal stockpile of barrels, sometimes dubbed the Fort Knox of syrup, to stabilize prices and protect supply. In 2012, thieves stole nearly 3,000 tons of it, worth over $13 million in what became known as the Great Maple Syrup Heist. Beyond pancakes, maple syrup is now a global export and part of Canada's national identity. It's not just a topping, it's liquid heritage in a bottle. Fact 15. Hockey rules, but lacrosse was here first. Most people think of ice hockey as Canada's national sport, and they're right, but only half right. In 1994, Canada officially designated 2 national sports, ice hockey for winter and lacrosse for summer. Lacrosse, in fact, is the older of the two, originating as a traditional indigenous game played by First Nations long before European settlers arrived. Matches could involve hundreds of players and span miles of field, often used for training or resolving disputes. The modern version of lacrosse is faster, smaller scale, and intensely competitive, with Canada remaining a global powerhouse in the sport. Ice hockey, of course, is practically a religion in Canada. Every kid grows up knowing the names of Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby. Cities shut down for playoff games. The Stanley Cup, the oldest professional sports trophy in North America, is a Canadian invention. But both sports represent something deeper. Lacrosse honors the country's indigenous roots. Hockey symbolizes unity across regions, from prairie ponds to downtown arenas. Together, they reflect Canada's dual spirit, historic and modern, peaceful and fierce, polite and passionate. Living in Canada, what it really costs. Canada is a land of opportunity, but it's not cheap. If you're planning to move here, be prepared for one of the highest costs of living in the Western Hemisphere. Major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and even Ottawa are known for soaring housing prices. Renting a one-bedroom apartment in a city center can cost anywhere from $1,300 to $2,200 per month. Outside the center, rent may drop to around $900, but availability is limited. Buying a home? Average prices in Vancouver can exceed $800,000 easily. Groceries and everyday goods are also pricey due to transportation and taxes. A gallon of milk costs around $4, while a dozen eggs is close to $3.50. Utilities, including electricity, heating, and water, often add $150 to $200 per month for a modest apartment. Internet runs about $75 monthly. Public transportation in major cities is efficient but not cheap. A monthly pass can cost $80 to $120. Healthcare is publicly funded and mostly free at the point of service, but it's not available to newcomers immediately. You must first secure permanent residency or be a legal worker with provincial coverage. For residency, Canada uses a points-based immigration system, favoring skilled workers with education, experience, and language ability in English or French. Programs like Express Entry or provincial nominee programs can help you qualify. Processing can take 6 months to over a year. Work opportunities are strongest in tech, healthcare, engineering, construction, and finance. The average salary nationwide is about $45,000 to $55,000 per year, but it varies widely by region and profession. Canada welcomes immigrants, but the path is structured and the lifestyle comes at a premium. It's a high-quality life, but you'll pay for it. If you found this video informative, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe to Andy Explores the World for more real, fact-based travel documentaries every week. Share your thoughts or ask questions in the comments below. I read and reply to as many as I can. If you enjoy learning about countries from a fresh, honest perspective, you're in the right place. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.